Or I just finished watching the Mothman Prophecy movie last night. It's a good movie. I love the pacing of it. Great storytelling, which is lacking on most Hollywood movies these days. These modern Hollywood movies. Man, I miss the movies on the 90s, man. Why? We have so many great movies, right? Anyways, as I was saying, it's a good movie. One of the things that they talk about was um, not the Man in Black, but Indrid Cold. So this guy is somehow involved, or I don't remember. Was he the Mothman? Did they say that Indrid Cold was the Mothman, or he just shows up when the Mothman is there? Also, they didn't show the actual face of the Mothman. That would have been silly. I don't. I think they did a good job of not depicting the Mothman as like an actual monster. So, all right. So I'm gonna watch this video. It's called "The Terrifying Story of Indrid Cold."
All that seemed off. That even though all the ingredients of a face were there, it just didn't quite feel right. During the 1960s in West Virginia, at the same time period of the Mothman sightings,
West
a
Virginia.
man encountered a strange humanoid being with a disturbing grin that shook him to his core. On today's episode of Discover the Unexplained, we will be diving into the uncanny valley as we discuss the legend of Indrid Cold, here on Mystery Archives.
Yeah, they never show what Indrid Cold looks like on the movie. He just talked to him in the phone. Most of the conversation was in the phone.
On October 16th of 1966, two young boys named Martin and James talked as they made their way through 4th Street in New Jersey. Their conversation stopped when James' eyes froze on something behind Martin. James asked, "Who's that guy standing behind you?" They both looked towards a chain link fence, and behind it stood an unnaturally tall, bald man wearing a metallic like suit. He had no ears or nose. The man looked at them with intense and inhuman eyes before he grinned. Feeling terror, they both ran from the man who chased them down until they managed to escape. Just a few weeks later, Woodrow Derenberger drove his truck on Interstate 77 in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Suddenly, he heard a crash and he slammed on his brakes as an unidentified vehicle landed in front of him.
Landed in
He
front of him.
described the object as like an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney, flaring at both ends, narrowing down to a small neck, and then enlarging in a great bulge in the center. The vehicle shined a bright light that blinded Derenberger, and he saw the dark shape of a man materialize out of the craft, and the man approached his truck window. Derenberger stated that he looked like an ordinary man, 6 feet tall, probably around 35 or so, with olive or tan skin, dark brown hair, and a metallic coat. The man grinned intensely through his window at Derenberger, and he heard a voice in his head say, "Roll down your window, I want to talk to you." During their conversation, the man never moved his mouth.
He said he heard it. He heard it on his head, so he was speaking to him telepathically.
Out of the grin or physically talked. All of his messages were spoken directly into Derenberger's head. The man introduced himself as Indrid Cold and said that he meant no harm. He was interested in learning about our planet, and their talk lasted for about 10 minutes. Cold said, "We eat, we breathe, we sleep, we even bleed, as you do." Before heading back to his craft, Cold then told Derenberger, "We will see you again." In his report to the police, Derenberger described him as courteous and friendly, and as it happens, this would not be the last time that Cold would visit him. For the next month, Derenberger claimed he was visited by Cold many more times, and at one point, Cold even took him onto his spaceship and to his home planet, Lanulos, in the Ganymede star cluster. He stated that they wore no clothes on the planet, and Cold said that his people had lived on the planet for about 125 to 175 Earth years. Cold would also appear at Woodrow's front door. His wife and children even knew that he was paying him visits, and they too would come forward, saying they saw Cold, as well as other strange beings. Woodrow's wife would later state that these beings were much like us. They traveled in everyday cars, dressed in everyday clothes, but were not human in origin. During the same period in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the Lilly family had been reporting poltergeist activity in their home, such as diamond-shaped lights. Linda Lilly was sleeping one night and awoke to see a man standing over her. She said it was a man, a big man, very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but I could see that he was grinning at me. He walked around the bed and stood right over me. I screamed again and hid under the covers. And when I looked again,
That would
he was
terrify.
gone.
That would terrify anybody.
Why do beings like Indrid Cold frighten us? Why would a smile fill us with a sense of fear or dread? This phenomena is known as the uncanny valley, and it occurs when something is close to being authentically human, but falls just short enough to unsettle us. This very phenomena could be a clue as to the nature of Cold and beings like him. Their human-like forms being a facade, a mask, just convincing enough to disarm, but not convincing enough to fool our instincts. Like with all UFO and alien encounters, skepticism and claims of fraud are abound when it comes to sightings of Indrid Cold.
Mm-hmm.
However, multiple witnesses corroborated Woodrow's original encounter on I-77, and some even claimed to witness the craft near his home as well. Woodrow's motives and credibility have been called into question since 1966, but it is interesting to note that the publicity of the event did not provide Woodrow with any positive consequences. He suffered a divorce, harassing phone calls, job loss, friend loss, trespassing, ridicule, embarrassment, and depression.
Yeah.
He often felt like he was being watched or that his phones were being tapped. His writings would often disappear from his locked house, and letters he would send would never reach their destination. Crowds would also often gather in his driveway to catch a glimpse of Cold, and at one point, 2 men with rifles stalked his home in order to catch the mysterious visitor.
I would like to introduce my cohort in this venture, Mr. Ronald Maines, who is the general manager of WTAP TV and radio. And we are here to ask this gentleman questions, and we will be asking questions for the next half hour to 25 minutes. Our guest is Mr. Derenberger of route number 2, Mineral Wells, West Virginia. Mr. Derenberger has a very interesting story to tell us this evening. I will give you a thumbnail sketch to begin with. Whether or not you believe in unidentified flying objects or not is not the point. Whether you believe in what you hear or see on this program is not the point. We are here to talk to a man that allegedly did make contact with such an object within the Parkersburg area last evening, November the 2nd, 1966, at approximately 7:25 p.m. The incident allegedly took place on Interstate Highway 77 near the interchange of route number 47. This gentleman is a salesman in the area. He has been a resident of the area for the past 50 years, and he has given us permission to interview him, and to show his face, and to call him by name. This in itself takes a lot of initiative, and to be very plain, a lot of know-how. Mr. Derenberger, in your own words, would you please relate what happened last night?
Well, I am a salesman and I drive a truck. And last night, shortly after 7 o'clock, I was coming from Marietta, Ohio, coming down Interstate 77.
Mm-hmm.
And just before I came to the intersection of Route 47, there was a car past me, overtaking me from behind. And following closely behind this car was this unidentified flying object. And as the car ahead, or the car behind passed me, this object was following close behind it, and it swerved directly in front of my truck, turning crosswise. And when it turned crosswise, it slowed down. It started slowing not abruptly or too fast, but it gave me plenty of time to step on my brakes and slow down with it. But it forced me to come to a complete stop. As soon as I had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me, or came to the truck. He walked to the right-hand side of the truck, and he told me to roll down the window. He asked me to roll down the window on my right-hand side of my truck. And I had done what he asked. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And I knew he meant my name, and I told him my name. And he asked me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened. We wish you no harm. He said, we mean you no harm. We wish you only happiness. And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. That was the name that he was called by.
Cold.
And again, he told me not to be frightened, which I was. I was very frightened. And as far as I can understand, this was all mental. There was no spoken words from him. I knew what he was asking me, but yet he stood there and his mouth did not move. He had a smile on his face. He appeared very courteous and friendly. And after I talked with him a while, he told me he would see me. He said, we will see you again. And he left in his vehicle.
Woodrow would
Fascinating.
eventually go to a psychiatrist for an assessment and left with a clean bill of health. Funnily enough, the same doctor would later receive a telepathic communication from Cold himself. Woodrow would eventually contribute his stories to an author, and they would be published in a 1971 book titled Visitors from Lunalos. Woodrow would move away to escape his past, and passing away in 1990 at the age of 74. He never denied his earlier claims, but likely as a result of lifetime of hardship, he simply stopped talking about them. So who is this Indrid Cold? A humanoid alien? A shapeshifter? A hoax? Or a demon or spirit? We may never truly know the answer to the identity of this being. But what we do know is that Derenberger and others certainly encountered something sinister. And in spite of a reassuring smile, filled witnesses with dread and fear. It is in situations like this that we must be thankful that our instincts can often save us from trusting dangerous people that hide malevolence behind a friendly grin. So was Indrid Cold real? Maybe, maybe not. But beware, because you might just find yourself in a similar situation, whether it's walking with a friend, driving your car, or sleeping in your own bed. If you ever see a man with a grin that chills you to the bone, you may have just seen Indrid Cold.
A little too dramatic, but
Thank you, guys.
it's a good movie. I mean, it's a good presentation of Indrid Cole. Um, yeah, if someone tries to talk to me telepathically, right? I would not be scared. I would actually be intrigued. I'm like, holy shit. my first reaction would be like, "Holy shit, is this happening right now?" And I would roll down my window and I would talk to him, right? Communicate. I wish it was me. I would ask him a lot of questions about the universe. You know, how did you get here? How the hell did you travel? Did you use a warp drive to get in here in a vast distance? It's in such a short amount of time. And one thing that doesn't make sense to me is okay, he's from a planet somewhere in Ganymede. Ganymede, is that a galaxy? I believe it's a galaxy, right? Ganymede galaxy or a star. If he's from Ganymede, which is millions of light years away, it wouldn't make any sense for anybody to visit here, to travel here in such a long distance, you know, just to telepathically warn people of something. Or it could just be a side effect of, you know, just by communicating with him, you, you might just get a little bit of side effect of seeing the future, like just a little bit of glimpse of the future. Something like that. Maybe this guy is he's way above human being. You know, he's got that. Maybe they in their planet they've mastered the capability of having psychic connection and looking through time somehow. But like I said, it doesn't make sense for them to travel this far distance. I mean, let's be honest. If if we the people in the planet Earth have the capability, we suddenly discovered warp drive, right? We test our warp drive, we see a planet. What's the first What's the first thing that we would do? We would scout that planet. Okay, maybe that's what he was doing. He was scouting the planet for resources, for livability, right? Is this planet suitable enough for their kind to live on? That could be what they're doing here. You know, if the alien beings are visiting this planet, that could be what they're doing. And if there is a lot of resources, I don't think it's gonna be a. I don't think it'll be good for us. Well, I think it'll be a full-on invasion when they come in here. I mean, these guys are so powerful. I mean, they can speak to you telepathically, and who knows, maybe make you do some, you know, maybe manipulate, control your mind, make you do some crazy stuff. It's gonna be an invasion. They're not gonna be friendly. Like, hey, we come in here. Here's millions of our population. We're just gonna use some of your No, it's not gonna. You know, they're not gonna ask nicely to take over our resources. It's gonna be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right now. So yeah, yeah. Like I said, going back on point, it doesn't make sense why they would just come in here. Either they came in here, check out, check out if the planet is habitable, if they need whatever resource they need. Well, you know, we have the resources that they need. They probably said, "Oh no, these guys are not advanced enough. Our technology is way more advanced than this. Our computer is way more advanced than this. They don't even have psychic powers. These guys are like like primates. You know, we're like apes to them, basically." So they just after the '60s, they just left. They're like, "Yeah, nope, that could be it."